Ever. Picking the old. Yay! Just at the moment.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
We're live.
Yay! We morphed into live stream.
Okay. The pressure's on.
Hey, everyone.
Already? Yay!
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yay.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
should we introduce ourselves to the viewers? Like.
Yeah.
I'm RedWelch.
Who goes first?
Hello, my name is Cole Williams 156.
That's it?
Okay. So okay. Hi, my name is LttlLovely.
Okay.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay, so I
Pleasure
guess
to
I
meet
got
Oh dear.
I guess I got right. Okay. Okay, this is gonna be weird. I have waited so much time to do it. Rain, sorry for that. Hello, Internet. I am most definitely not the Disney brain. My name is Pedro. I'm from Brazil. You have just been one up live for the whole Internet to see. I'm sorry for that. Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Pedro. I'm from Oh crap! Wait a minute.
On the alarm.
Middle of the live stream.
What?
So one-upping the host. Either way, I guess that's pretty much it. My name is Pedro, and that's it. We're here to talk Power Ranger. We're here to talk the new Saban era. We're here to talk a bunch of topics. Suit yourself in, feel yourself at home, and let's begin.
After the brain.
So, as part of a school project, I actually did research on this. And fun fact, according to one of my sources, over the course of the Neo Saban era, viewership actually went down 75%.
Oh my god.
Why am I not surprised?
I don't think anyone is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 75%.
About right.
Oh, you youngsters with your Netflix and yeah.
I would actually love Netflix to take over Power Rangers, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yay, your butt's back.
I didn't like it at all. I didn't really even like Dino Thunder.
Yeah.
Dino. And that's probably the best.
Yeah. Like, until Dino Charge, there was two things this franchise would always go do well when they went into space, and then with dinosaurs. And then Dino Charge came in, and it wasn't as good when the first iterations of dinosaurs. I guess that's a simple way to put it.
Dino Charge was okay. I think it was Dino Supercharge that really dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Bye for that.
No. Like, I remember watching the first episode of Power Rangers Dino Charge and actually being really excited for it.
Same.
But I didn't really have cable at the time, so I couldn't watch it too much,
When Dino Charge.
Let's see. At least Samurai gave us a good.
Overall, the Neo Saban era was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
It's like everyone was like kind of, well, at least somewhat excited since Saban was returning, to the franchise. And, they had overall been good, especially with seasons like Time Force and whatnot. And Samurai.
It was like, at least for me, from what I see, it's like you as someone that didn't watch the Neo Saban era as much as I wish I did.
It was a good idea, poorly executed, because like their intention was like they only had one season to develop everything from character arcs to the powers, power-ups, the stories behind everything, and like they wanted to they wanted to enhance the time. They wanted to make it to 2 seasons so they could have more time to develop all of that, and it ended up not working as well as they wished it did.
Yeah, but the thing was, they split it into 2 seasons in order to get more time to write it and adapt it and stuff, but they didn't really add more episodes or screen time. Like, even In Space was longer than the Neo Saban seasons, yet they took twice the amount of time, and normally were a lot more lackluster than seasons like that.
I really think that the splitting the seasons in twain were like a problem because, for one thing, it disrupted the storytelling.
Yeah.
And like I never really saw the point of that other than selling new toys.
Mainly because Nick only allowed them 20 episodes a season. They technically had to do it that way.
Yeah,
so I don't fault them for having to split it up because that's not really Neo or Saban's fault. That was Nick's. But at the exact same time, they tried to capitalize it by making a bunch of toys that are specifically for the super season, which didn't really do well at all. They tried to add a lot of gimmicks with it.
Yeah, it kind of forced them to put like an ending for the normal season, so that if it wasn't renewed for a super season, it was already tied up into a nice little bow. But then they'd have to all of a sudden make a new beginning for it for the next season and get a new villain sometimes or something. It was kind of a mess.
You tried to add a lot of gimmicks with it.
4Kids dub.
Yep.
I still don't understand why they didn't cast someone Japanese to play the Red Ranger at the very least. I never understood why they were all
American?
I don't know. Basically, yeah. They're all samurai. You expect at least someone to be.
Yeah, because like even the Pink Ranger, like, you know, she was Asian, but I believe she's Chinese and Korean, isn't she?
Yeah.
Or at least explain it. Say the Nylock and move, or the whatever the river thing moves. So that's because the samurais kept her. And in modern day, that's where it ended up. Something like that. But never really was explained.
Yeah. The Neo Saban era just didn't explain most of their decisions a lot of times. Especially with Gosei.
Simple explanation for that.
What's funny is I actually looked up the Super Sentai 4. Is there or technically there could be an explanation because they did have a Green Ranger in the Sentai version. I don't exactly know how big of a character that was. I only read about him so far, but there was a green suit, so they could have had some form of explanation.
Yeah. The thing was just
I
that.
Say Green was just like a one-off, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think his character died not in the Sentai.
Actually, yeah.
The
Gosei Green actually did die, I think, in front of Gosei Blue.
Yeah, I think Gosei Blue was just remembering. There's that. That actually reminds me. The Sentai gets very dark. They have killed a few people off in that.
No.
Besides the monsters, who's died in the Power Rangers universe without coming back to life?
It was like only the Magna Defender who died and stayed dead, but then everyone else who died was brought back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Magna Defender's status as a ranger has always been kind of iffy for some people.
The original Magna Defender I don't count as a Power Ranger, just because he seemed to be doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Because if we were to count the Magna because if we were to count the original Magna Defender as a Ranger, we would have to count Zenaku as much as the Wolf Ranger as Merrick. Because he had the Morpher, he had the Zords, he had the Megazords. He was exactly what Magna Defender was before. Damn, I forgot Leo's brother's name. Before he inherited the Magna Defender power. Mike, sorry. Brain must be thinking right now. What a disappointment. He doesn't remember Mike's name. Well, I guess I just made you. I just caused you to speak it, so I'm sorry. Either way, if we were to consider him before the passing away of the powers, the baton pass, as a ranger, we would have to consider Zenaku as well. So I also don't think he was a ranger prior to Mike inheriting the powers. but I still think he's got one of the best redemption arcs ever. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty interesting how his personal arc intertwines with the Lights of Orion arc, because it was one of the biggest one of the biggest conceded power arcs in the entire franchise. Like, for how many episodes? 7, 8 episodes. Right? Finally, we're past to the Rangers, and everything in between. You were like, from there to there, and the Rangers always fighting with the Magna Defender to get them, or with the monsters. It was all, I don't know, outrageous. But okay, moving back to the actual point of Neo Saban era.
So let's get back from the tangent that we just skewed into.
He had better acting than Troy.
The Phantom Ranger from Turbo. He never really get explained. He just show up invisible, kick some asses, go away, and we never get to know where he comes from.
Yeah, love story with Cassie. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they had some plans.
Did you say Casey?
Cassie.
No, I didn't. Does it matter?
It's gonna sound like a crossover fan fiction.
Go look it up right now.
Somewhere.
Well,
if you could think it, there's fan fiction of it.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, on fanfiction.net, there's like 28,000 Power Rangers stories. I wouldn't be shocked if one of them was a weird crossover fanfic between those two characters. Yeah.
No.
Hey, Braid, don't be surprised if your Chronic Storm series gets a fan fiction of it by someone.
God.
A person with
hey, there are weird people out there who would.
I knew this eventually was gonna happen.
We all should have expected.
Death, taxes, and fan fiction. Those are the 3 certainties in life.
Yeah.
You like about the Neo Saban era?
It's just silence.
Crickets chirping.
Okay, I actually have one thing that I kind of like about the Neo Saban era. And as controversial as this might be, it's from the Super Mega Force. They showed some of the old Super Sentai suits, and while they did just call them legendary powers and stuff, see, because most people in the West, we've never saw any of those suits ever before. So that was a neat treat. It just sucks that it was from a crappy season. I think they could have done a lot more with those suits.
Yeah, there you go. The Sentai exclusive powers, in theory.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, no, it's. I did think it was kind of weird, like, like you have Super Mega Force, and then look, it's a Flashman suit. Yeah.
Yeah, Super Mega Force could have been very well or very great. Sadly, it just turned out the way it did. It had a lot of promise and is arguably one of the better Sentais. But yeah, for Power Rangers, I think that we should redo that season personally and fix the mistakes. But who knows?
And what's sad is that this is one of the good things, but they never really explained why the Sentai suits were there. They could have been like, oh, this is a ranger suit from like another universe or different planets, but they just kind of gave a weird excuse and then never talked about it again.
Yeah.
At the very least, like have some like. At the very least, have some like tie-ins with like the Boom comics and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they added one of the Rangers. One of them became the the Green Psycho Ranger in the Boom comics. I forget which team they added him in.
Weren't they Zybrians?
I forget. I haven't had the chance to read the comics.
No, the Rangers
remember,
where Psycho Green came from. I think I read somewhere that they were a Zybrian
I think it was the
team.
music Sentai. I'll have to look it up. 1 second.
Five Man? No, Five Man wasn't strictly music, although one of them had a music motif.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick just to make sure I got this right.
In fact, I think Five Man were all teachers. I've just like remembered like bits and pieces of like stuff I've researched over the years, like since I got into Sentai, which was like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually something that always confused me when I was a kid. Was why did Tommy go from wanting to become a race car driver?
No,
I
going
think
I
from
remember last
thing with
I saw it.
Yeah, that's
Last I
odd.
saw of him was Turbo. So
going from like a race car driver to a scientist or geneticist or whatever he was to a science teacher. No, Billy's an Aquitar. Yeah, no, sorry that I wasn't trying to correct you. I was uh Yeah. He's Samurai Jesus. He don't need no stinking teammates.
Sorry, I'm looking up something else at the moment.
Overall, they kind of treated the Nilox just like the typical monsters. There were only a few times where they treated them like the demons they were, kind of like in the Lightspeed way with the wish granting, but it was very rare.
I was gonna say that now.
The acting, oh dear.
Poor Vipra. Poor Vipra.
Poor Viper.
Just
same thing that they
be
asked.
Rita Repulsa with bat wings.
I actually feel bad for characters like Vipra, the main or the general villain type of thing, that always fight the Rangers, and they're the only ones that never really lose to the Rangers, or they never really get or die from the Rangers until near the very end. Think of Goldar or something. They've never really, well, they have lost a few times. They've never been killed by the Rangers, and that's with most of them. I always found it funny that they are the only ones that never really die to them.
I mean, geez, it's even debatable on whether or not Zordon's energy wave dealt with Goldar.
Yeah.
Well,
And Zordon,
we
When
didn't.
I see it,
we-
if it's not shown on, if it's not shown on screen, they're not dead yet.
Well, we know that Zordon's energy wave had a bit of a short time zone because he hit whatever evil existed back at that moment, and that was it. Everything that was from that point on was unaffected.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, one could say that. But then we would be talking
Personally, I just
about a
think Zordon.
conscious energy wave? A judgmental one?
I personally just
It's
think it was
basically
where the energy wave just
it.
skimmed the surface of all the evil that was there at the moment. Because think about it, 2 seasons later in Lightspeed Rescue, there's demons.
Imagine we're just looking too far into it, and the wave just literally just decided to kill random things. It's like he's dying. He doesn't care. He's just like, I want to kill something, and then he dies.
No, Zordon didn't care about the demons. He was trying to deal with the aliens.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this right now. Like, we could argue that Zordon's energy wave didn't reach like Trakin and Scorpius. We could argue that it is because like emotional waves, are they really villains? I think, but you could also argue they were at the other side of a galactic portal. So could Zordon's energy wave reach there, even him being an Eltarian being? And we could also argue the demons were unawake at the time Zordon's energy wave was released. So I was just thinking, I mean, can we find a reason to justify every single evil being that did not get affected by Zordon's energy wave? No, don't worry.
Power Rangers has a tendency to retcon stuff in order to just try and continue the seasons without really any real explanation.
Let's just ask Gosei, you know.
It's just a fourth wall break.
He's actually talking about like that planet Sentai 6 or whatever.
Well, the Neo Saban hero is just lazy.
What about Kamen 5? Yeah, I believe so.
I thought that was a joke. It's sad.
Oh wow.
No.
Yeah, but they don't care enough to do that. At one point, they're just gonna start naming planets after series, like Lightspeed 3.5 or something.
Mariner Bay. Yeah.
Really? I gotta see that now.
We should have expected it. It's the same movie that tried to ham fist in Krispy Kreme sponsorships every 5 minutes.
Dare besmirch the name of Krispy Kreme?
Nah, Oh dear.
Oh fuck.
Yes. No.
Yeah, they had to add at least some sort of corniness to the movie at some point. Otherwise, it's not really Power Rangers. They have to have just a little bit. Granted,
some of
Venus
Billy's
was
last
pretty
words were
creepy in that
Krispy
movie
Kreme.
here and there.
This was marketed as a dark reimagining of Power Rangers, but Billy's last words were literally Krispy Kreme. That's just ridiculous.
That is some pretty worse or bad words to end your life on.
Yeah, he died protecting it.
Actually, not just that. Imagine this: like you're a millions of years old, extraterrestrial being. You walk in a little town with power enough to wreck it entirely. You commit a gigantic monster made of gold, and you're walking between all the streets, screaming, "Krispy Kreme! Krispy Kreme!" That must be one of the most ridiculous things ever. This is how I couldn't stop laughing when I saw the scene originally. Krispy Kreme! Krispy Kreme!
That's why Rita is so green.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. 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 It's like really weird. Like we don't get to see, like, for example, we don't get to see Billy connecting a lot with, say, Trini. Actually, she didn't connect really much with anyone by that point. The closest she got to that was showing the scar she got from that fight scene with Rita, and then all of a sudden she's there. He's gonna be getting okay, isn't he? And when they're trying to reanimate it, and she stopped right there. She literally stopped there doing nothing. And like, how did you get to care so much about him? It never gets explained. She is a character that is totally emotionally detached from the rest of the group, and all of a sudden she is caring about everyone. She is as a part of the team as everyone. They were almost reaching that level in which everyone was in the same height. And then on the very last moment, there was this tiny little bit that was remaining. And then force the rest. And they forced it. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I feel like the movie reboot could have worked out better as maybe like a mini series because they're adapting like this giant franchise, and MMPR is like 3 seasons long with like over 100 episodes, and like it takes all of that to develop all the characters. Of course, some characters leave, some don't, but I feel like it would have worked out better because if they had more screen time, if they could develop the characters further.
Yeah. One thing I didn't like about the movie was... Oh, go ahead, Brain.
I think that they expected, like, let's do this movie to be good enough, and if we get enough, and if we get enough box out of it,
support,
we're going to get to develop the characters a bit better in the next movie. They were like, I think they did it counting on two things, like the old hardcore fans that would definitely go watch it, and that thing of, like, it's kind of like when they started doing the Harry Potter movies and they started like being like real blockbusters. Everybody started thinking, okay, so all I have to do is pick a book that is really mainstreaming. I gotta turn that into a movie, and I'm gonna get bucks of loads of money out of it. So kind of the same thing is happening now with superhero stuff. Like Marvel is doing a shitload of money with the MCU. DC is a bit far behind, but they're getting back to it. And so Saban looked at it and they said, we can do that. We can do that as well. We can translate our franchise to this new form of doing movies, and we can get ourselves a bunch of money over that as well. So we're just going to do an origin movie here, and we're gonna get guaranteed a lot of money. And it didn't really happen because, like, who would even say that when you don't do a movie that's good enough, people don't watch it? Who would even think of that? Eventually, I don't know. It feels to me like they betted too much on the mainstream thing, and they eventually failed on it because they could have done a few things better.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
I mean, please, if I'm saying something you guys don't agree, please let's talk. I mean,
no, I actually agree with you.
It's kind of an awkward silence. Like,
yeah. It's okay. I think a third of this.
Yeah, let's go on to a new topic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my favorite team up was Forever Red. That's probably one of the best.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Yeah, that's an obvious choice.
I honestly think that one's a little bit too easy. I do think Power Rangers in Space had some of the better team up episodes, considering they teamed up with the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, the Blue Turbo Ranger, and also the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Yep. In the fourth episode.
So viewers at home, before we started, I actually had kiddingly said that my favorite team up episode was Shell Shocked.
Actually, that is my second favorite. That is my second favorite team up episode. Yes, it's cheesy as hell nowadays, but when I was a kid, seeing the Power Rangers team up with the Ninja Turtles, even though I didn't know who one of them was, that was awesome
Venus de Milo.
Yes. I still don't know who she is.
I think she was in like a one-off TMNT movie, and that was it.
She was actually in the Saban-owned TMNT TV show called The Next Mutation.
Yeah.
I actually own that on DVD.
Oh, how is it? I've
never made DVDs of that one.
The show, it was a little weird, but not bad. It wasn't bad.
Because I've heard terrible things about Venus de Milo as a character.
Venus, Venus as I think it was mostly Venus that was just a little weird about that series, and also the 4 turtles weren't brothers for some reason. And like they had the Shredder in the first episode, but before I continue, like, do you guys care about spoilers at all, or?
Not really. Not for that.
Nah, it's an old show.
Okay, yeah. Like I didn't know if anybody was going to like go out of their way to watch this, but yeah. And I think in the very first episode, they had done Venus had like done some like mind trick on the Shredder, which like made him lose the will to like continue doing evil, I guess.
Huh.
Weird.
Basically showing him like, Oroku Saki, look what you have become, or something to that effect.
That's interesting.
What are your guys' favorite team up?
Well, who goes next?
Anyone who wants to go next can go.
Okay. Well, please, Brain, don't. I think this is gonna attack a bit your fan side of the thing, but my favorite team up episode. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with the names of the episodes, but it was the one like Lost Galaxy with space. No, Lost Galaxy. Yeah, Lost Galaxy with space. Because like it was one of the. I mean, for a few. They didn't really have the habit of extending it to 2 episodes team up. Like, I don't know if it was like a bug that they didn't have the budget to pay former actors for 2 episodes. It wasn't their contract or something like it. But like, the team up episode that they did in Lost Galaxy with Space, it was like the return of the Psychos was really well made. The thing of Psycho Pink getting the shit, I forgot the name of the saber, but like the way in which the story gets handled, the Savage Sword. Thanks, Brain.
I've seen that episode too many times not to remember.
I wonder if I
can only imagine. I can only imagine.
I wonder if Brain likes that's on Lost Galaxy.
Yeah. Like the story gets really well handled. Like they give a lot of spot in the lights for the arc of the Pink Ranger, which is something that most team up episodes wouldn't usually do. And there's also the thing that, well, it's gonna get some people in this stream really upset. It got Pink, but there's the thing, like, there has been one single casual, and it has been Kendrick's on 6 team up episode. I know there was that thing of like Valerie Vernon was having that thing that she was battling leukemia. She had to get out of the show, but they could have done all sorts of different ways of like taking her away from the screen. She could have passed her powers away to Cassie. She could have passed her powers away to any other of the to anyone else. They could have cast someone else to take her place. She could have passed her powers away to Corone, but they chose to kill the character. It wasn't, for me, it was a bit of a thing of like, it was the franchise taking a step above on like the tone. It was getting a darker tone. It was getting a more serious tone. It was getting something like, oh, Ranger duty is actually dangerous. It's not only using flashy swords and beams and killing monsters that hit you when you're using spandex. Oh, let me just look at the side to see if Dr. K is in here, so she's not going to beat me. Okay, so they're beating you and you're using like spandex suits, monsters beating you and you're not getting damaged for some reason. No, this is actually dangerous. You can actually die in duty. It was a step above. It was they were taking one step on the direction of showing people like this. This should be said. This should be treated as serious business. Those people are not doing that because they like to, because like the fame or fortune. They're not getting any of this. They're just doing they're just risking their lives to save people every single day. Quoting what Brain said in his video, many rangers, all rangers can say they put their lives at risk for the sake of people every day, but few rangers can say they gave it up for that same goal.
Oh my
and
god, that was a perfect quote.
Yeah.
You have that memorized before the stream?
Yeah.
Impressive.
I have watched that video a few times already. But like, this adds up not only for Kendrick as a character, but it adds the whole narrative tone of Lost Galaxy as a series. And that's something to be said about it, because most team-up episodes are just pure fan service. It's like, it's a problem that in most cases the Rangers from the current season could solve on their own. But for some reason, fan service, the Rangers from the previous season come in and help them solve it. And the villains come in and help the villains from said season as well. But on specifically this episode, a few other more, but it's specifically on this one, like, you really get a problem that the Rangers need the Lost Galaxy Rangers need the Space Rangers to solve. And it was so much so that it cost the life of one of them. So, I mean, it's a really well-made episode. They have handled the narrative really well. They have given the spot and the light to the right characters. And it was a great way. It was a great way for Kendrick to leave the spot in style. At least for me. Ready, Brain, you can cry now.
There. There, Brain.
It's okay. I'm okay. I'll be alright. It never gets easier to watch it, by the way. It just doesn't. But as far as team-ups go...
Speaking of team-up episodes, yep. I have actually one question that I'm hoping someone can answer.
Yep. And what's the question?
The dramatic pause.
Oh my lord, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Does it ever get explained how he got to build those power discs with his dark energy? I mean, without having access to the original blueprints for the Ninja Morphers?
I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Magic. That's it. That's all you have to know.
Sounds about right, yeah. Which does exist in the Ranger universe.
Magic explains everything.
So, in theory, magic could be a viable answer.
Yeah. I mean, dark ninja energy, something like that.
Space
he was trapped in that weird evil vortex thing.
But as far as team-ups go, I would be remiss not to mention reinforcements from the future, because pound for pound, that might there's an argument that can be made to call that the best team-up of all time, specifically because it's a Wild Force episode that could easily function as a Time Force episode because of how they properly carry the story forward. That kind of ended, but not quite, in terms of what Rancic had already gone through, and basically finishing his redemption arc, healing him of the condition that once ailed him by allowing him the chance to help undo one of his past mistakes. And I thought that the fact that the entire plot was set into motion because of that, as directly opposed to something like Vipera just returning, just because, and then it's like, well, I guess both teams got to deal with her now. I guess.
Yeah.
But no, this actually had a reason to exist because the threat this time was a literal combination of the threats of both seasons in the mute orgs, and you had it so that Rancic had to help the Rangers overcome that, and beyond even that, both Ranger teams I felt had really great moments to shine. You really didn't have one that kind of overtook the spotlight from the other, which you can't even really say about Forever Red because, gotta sell toys, so we gotta make it so that Cole is the only one that beats Serpentera, despite the fact that Serpentera is twice as big as a skyscraper.
Yeah.
But no, let's just ride a motorcycle into the heart of Serpentera.
And for some reason, a motorcycle that has wings. And for some reason, a motorcycle that has wings and had never been showcased up to that point in any episode gets to fly in space.
I
mean,
yeah.
And
apparently
why?
the writers actually had a whole idea or a second episode that involved the Megazords or Ranger Zords taking on Serpentera, but that was all scrapped because they had to sell toys.
Yeah.
Was that motorcycle ever mentioned or featured again in Wild Force?
Nope.
I don't know.
It just appears on that single episode, which makes sense because let's face it, if Cole in the last episode had access to a motorcycle that was strong enough to withstand the shot of the Serpentera, and Mike go through it, taking a shot that had energy, quote unquote, powerful enough, more than powerful enough to destroy the Earth, and he had access to such a weapon, I mean, it would have been fairly too easy to destroy Masterwork.
Yeah.
You've done it now, Victor.
I mean, it's a Zord that has more than enough power to destroy the Earth, and then he does his Deus Ex. Call that thing, fly with it in space, even though it doesn't have any kind of thrusters, only wings, and then the Serpentera shoots him. The shoot lands, and he simply goes through the beam and destroys Serpentera. I mean, if he had that kind of weapon when he was fighting Master Org, it would have been too easy.
Very true, yes.
Comment in the chat Victor. Says, the Wild Force Rider was used again once in sealing the Nexus.
Oh.
So, apparently it was used again.
As a patrol vehicle. So basically no different than their Wild Force motorcycles.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, just a fun fact. Brain, you were talking about reinforcements from the future. I was gonna rate that as my second favorite. There is only one issue that I have with that episode. I mean, there's a great thing because, when I was a kid and I watched Time Force, I used to ship a lot Wes and Jen. I mean, who didn't?
Yeah, who doesn't?
And in that episode, you get to finally exchange some kind of actual romantic feelings without the plot getting in the way, like saving the "I love you" moment for the very ending of the season. But why did Jen had to be wearing that suit? I mean, what was that suit?
Complaining about that?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it because it doesn't feel like something that her character would wear, even in an infiltration mission that she never actually infiltrates. She's just hiding beneath a hood and shooting people from behind, and when she shows up, she's in that suit, and it doesn't add up to the character. It feels a bit kind of like they're overly sexualizing the character, just to
that's a
like
good point. I didn't really think about that before, but yeah, Jen really probably wouldn't dress like that by choice.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, that does seem kind of like out of place.
It'd kind of be like, I don't know, if Tori was wearing a power suit or something.
Well, that would be fun, I guess.
Tori in a power suit, or?
Yeah, because like, I mean, you were talking about Tori, or
yeah, because because personality-wise,
yeah, go on.
Tori you wouldn't associate Tori with being, I guess, a kind of like discount Sandra Bullock sort of character with the power suit and the command, because she's all about extreme sports. So I guess in that sense, you wouldn't necessarily associate Jen with wearing like skin tight leather stuff. At least when she's not morphed, but at that point, that's just skin tight spandex. So it kind of it's kind of divergent from the characters that we know them to be in terms of the aesthetics of what they're wearing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I totally get your point, but like, just gonna, I mean, it's there. There's just a like a tiny difference of perspective there, because a power suit would actually cover Tori's body a bit more than it would already be. That awkward suit they put in Jen was actually like, it was just like showing a bit more of her body than should have.
A lot there. So I understood some of that.
I think Venjix got into Pedro's.
No. Oh no! It's happening, guys! It's happening.
Got into mine. I'm sorry. I think it's cutting a lot.
Yeah, it was a little.
I mean, are you speaking?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Hello? Where's everybody? Am I alone?
Wait, can you? Yeah,
I'm here.
I wasn't really hearing anybody. I mean, it could be my connection or the fact that I'm a few thousands of miles away. Either of those. I don't know which one.
It could be both.
It could potentially
be both. Sounds like your connection's just getting wonky. That's it.
Oh yeah, we got a $2 donation on the super chat from Ferris Manus, Primarch of the Iron Hands. Thank you so much for your generous contributions. And he asks, why not a power suit? Lothar did.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that always bothered me about it a bit. I mean, okay, I can totally understand why the red one always get the power suits, like to sell toys. But like, now that this isn't anymore, I mean, as much as okay, the entire franchise has built itself based on selling toys, but like, why can't we have like the other Rangers wearing power suits?
Well, Lightspeed Rescue to a degree fixed that, and they gave Chad and
Joel the
yes.
Chad and Joel
mega battle armor.
Had a bit of a brain fart there. Yeah, they got those before Carter even got his battleizer, because that battleizer came way later, and I don't even know why Carter even got a battleizer, honestly, because I think it was only used in 1 or 2 episodes at most, and it certainly didn't get any use in the finale.
Yeah, I mean, even at Operation Overdrive, I mean, I know we tend to talk a bit badly about this season, but like, Will got himself a battleizer suit that was also I don't know if it was a motorcycle or a helicopter cycle, something like that.
It was a hovertech cycle, so it could like drive and fly, I think.
Yeah. in fact, I mean, I guess I have said this a few times already, but like, Will is a better character than he gets credit for. I mean, he's one of the few ever. I mean, a few Rangers have already been on the bad side before turning from the good, but he had not just been on the good side and then turned for the bad, as well as he infiltrated himself among the villains ranks to get something from them. He was a spy. I mean, he was the bad side of the good guys. He was doing what the bad guys. He was beating the bad guys on their own game. That's something that I always thought was really interesting about the character.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
But that's actually kind of something that another thing that looping all the way back is another thing that I kind of liked to a degree about the Neo Saban era, because for as lackluster as many parts of Samurai happen to be, at the very least with Super Samurai, you had a power-up ability, however lame it looked, that everyone on the team could use, and I liked that part of it. And for Super Ninja Steel, you had something similar, but the problem I always come back to is that Sarah, the one person that earned the Lion Fire powers, never got to actually use the Lion Fire powers, even though, like, for some reason Preston gets to use the Lion Fire armor in Super Ninja Steel, so that always struck me as a bit awkward.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think that the Pink Ranger in Ninja got to use that power up either. Like, granted they could have like done something with that in Ninja Steel, I don't know.
Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense to me that if they're not going to film it in that way, then they can just make it so that Brody's the one that saved Princess Vieira. I mean, that was all original footage, so they were making the active choice to go with Sarah, despite the fact that they must have known well before then that they either, one, would have had to film original footage to make it make sense in terms of, being invested with that arc, but then also getting the payoff for it, or two, ignore it completely and make no sense.
Well, yay, I guess I have gone alone again.
Wait, can you not hear us again?
Yeah.
Okay, come back.
Okay, good.
Here. I was just gonna say, good thing you guys came back, because I was just gonna start to sing alone again, naturally.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I've come to
is the loneliest.
We seriously gotta get some soundtracks, some sound. I mean, what? Not soundtrack, but shit, I forgot the word. Some sound next for the next live stream.
Oh, that might be interesting.
That would be fun.
Background music.
Like someone says something interesting, you play a laughing track on the background. Someone says something like what I just said, and then you start playing "Hello, Darkness, My Old Friend" on the background.
Someone drops a hot take, and you hit a button, and it goes bam, 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 bam.
Oh my god! That I don't know about that sound effect.
Or every 15 minutes, we program a bot here in Discord to play a sound effect with Dr. King saying, "It is not spandex!"
I honestly think she's probably the best part of RPM, in all honesty.
Yeah, RPM's got a
Just
lot of
stuff
bright
like
spots,
that.
but I think Dr. K is the brightest spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, either her or Ziggy.
Yeah.
Either her or Ziggy. That's a tough choice to make.
I do quite
That is
like Ziggy as a character. You know, because of the whole underdog, you know, thing that he went through.
Yep, I love me a good underdog story.
yeah. Especially because usually the underdogs are used as the series comic reliefs, and this time they turned the comic relief. They turned the underdog into an actual ranger, and gave him a character arc in which he develops from being the underdog into being an actual character that matters. I mean, that was really powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
And like there's the whole story of Dr. K like leaving her isolation, getting to terms with her own mistakes. And I don't know, I mean, it feels like I am repeating everything that Brain have already said in this 3 series videos about RPM. For you guys, the viewers, if you haven't watched yet, Brain, please link them.
I know.
feel
Watch
like
Disney
everyone's
Brain's
watching
videos; they're good.
Yeah. In the end, we're still live streaming on his channel. We gotta help him sell his fish on the market.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Hey, like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, guys.
Hit that bell so you know when he drops a new video.
I mean, but I think that the biggest, I think, to me at least, like considering that we can say that all the characters, save for the interactions between Flynn and Gemma, that could have been a lot more explored, but save for like save for spots like those, like individual spots like those, all the characters get a good development in the story. So I mean, for me at least, the true highlight of RPM is the way in which the script get the script get held, like situations like catchphrases that come and go, like the characters donning themselves, especially the dynamics between damn, I forgot. Between Scott and Dylan, their things with their cars. Like, there was a moment in which, damn, I don't remember the exact spot, the exact episode, but it was something that Dylan had said to Scott before he was rushing out with his car, and then Dylan arrives at the spot when they're just about to morph, and he says that same line that Dylan had told him. It was like, oh my god, this was a perfect arc. It starts with Dylan, it ends with Scott. They have made a perfect arc with this specific uh, the specific hook. So it's like it was really well handled on that way. The script was really well made, and there's, I think, at least my favorite scene in RPM is that moment in which Tanaya breaks into Dr. K's lab, and she kicks her off with the sound of her violin. But the sound of her violin is also playing when the Rangers are doing the Megazord thing, like taking the blaster, shoot the monster, turn your back to the monster, and the camera watches it blow. But instead of playing like the instrumental version of the opening theme, which would have been bummer because RPM's opening theme sucks big time. It was Dr. Keith's violin playing on the background, and it caused an effect of like, do you know what, like those scenes, like those movies that play classical music on the background when there is going on like a shooting and everybody's dying and everybody's killing and those things, like a sort of a John Wick-ish vibe. That is what that scene had, at least to me. There was the violin playing on the background and they were killing a monster. I mean, that was a perfect scene for me. That was the best Megazord scene I've ever watched, and I don't like Megazord scenes at all.
Why not?
I guess I spoke a little too much, perhaps.
No such thing.
No.
I mean, my in total, my video on RPM lasts like over an hour, so I think you're fine.
Yeah, but at least you broke it in 3 halves. Like, we're gonna break this podcast in 3 halves.
Wait, what?
I
Three
mean,
parts.
so everybody, this has been the first half an hour. Now we're gonna go for a quick for a quick break time, and then while we're going at it, just watch this ad so we can have our revenue for the rest half.
Please, yes.
Thanks, everybody. Here we go.
I beat Toei's copyright
Something
claims,
like
so I
that.
finally make money off my videos now.
Oh crap! There's that.
Fantastic.
The copyright issue. I have heard about it.
Yeah, but Toei can't stop this stream, so haha. Checkmate, Toei.
There's actually something I've been, or I think one of you guys might be able to answer. I saw a toy for RPM where there was a 10th Ranger, a big buff guy that looked like a mammoth or something, or looked like the mammoth Zord. Was that an actual Ranger or just a toy?
Those were toy exclusives. There were a couple of them. There was a mammoth and a couple of other dinosaur-themed ones as well, but those were, as to my knowledge, they never appeared in the show.
Okay.
I think they appeared.
That was something I was wondering because I've seen a bunch of pictures of the full team, but I've never seen that one, so that always confused me.
Yeah, I think they were just Go On Your exclusives.
Yeah.
Were they?
I think so.
Let me look at this because I don't remember seeing them in Go On Your. No, it doesn't look like. What's this?
Okay. Let's pick up another topic for a minute.
No.
Do you think Hasbro should pick up?
Go On Your either.
Yeah, I think I would have seen them if they were in Go Under because I've looked up a bunch of the Sentai and I've never seen those characters besides the toys.
What? But that does raise a question though. Like, if Jungle Fury introduced the Spirit Rangers as toys and then used them later in the show, then why didn't RPM could RPM have done the same with those Dinosaur Rangers?
I'm pretty sure they could.
Didn't RPM have a writer's strike during its showing?
It was in Jungle Fury, I think.
Yeah, that was happening primarily during Jungle Fury.
Okay, then never mind. I thought it was happening during RPM. So what are your guys' hopes for this new Hasbro for Power Rangers? What's something you're hoping Hasbro does with them?
Wait, what was the question?
What was the question again?
I didn't hear the question. What was it?
What do you guys hope Hasbro does with Power Rangers now that they have them?
Okay.
Effort into it.
Permission to be I mean, I'm not gonna be pessimistic because so far they're doing a great job, but like, Hasbro is not exactly in the best of financial situations. I mean, like, so I mean, I hope that they allocate enough budget on the Power Rangers franchise now that they have it, because like they have just bought it. It's a newcomer. I think they're still gonna. I mean, Beast Morphers at least is gonna be a bit of a probatory state for the franchise with Hasbro. They want to see how much money they can get of it, because like currently they have 2 of all their brands that are actually giving them revenue, because like Transformers, even with the movies, has not been doing so good as on the years. I mean, they have only 2 of their brands that are really giving them some revenue. So it's like they're really desperate to allocate enough money to all the other brands. So I mean, I hope that this is not going to stop them from investing in Power Rangers, because if they do invest, we're going to have a few great seasons on the come. I mean, if Beast Morphers goes well, I think we can expect a bit more of a bit of improvement on the future seasons. Maybe not just a bit, but if Beast Morphers doesn't go as well as they're expecting, maybe we might have a bit of a decrease in quality again.
That is definitely
Makes
possible.
sense.
Although, based on what I've seen so far, I feel like Beast Morphers is at least going to be solid, but right now they're kind of a little bit limited based on what Nickelodeon wants. So based on how they can get out of
Yeah.
that situation, that might end up influencing what they do moving forward. But one thing that isn't as tied to that is the movie deal that they're trying to work out with Paramount right now. So that could also be a huge thing because for as good as I thought the 2017 movie was, at the end of the day, it didn't get enough butts in seats. So my question for Hasbro is how are they going to fix that while keeping a lot of the elements that the 2017 movie got right and maybe pushing some elements in a slightly different direction to increase the potential viewership?
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, I just hope they don't go all over fan service on it. I hope they just focus on giving us a good story.
Yeah, same.
They just go mega force with a fan service.
Please don't. I mean,
Oh.
don't give them any ideas, man.
I hope not.
If anybody working on the movies happens to be watching this for some reason, that was a joke.
Yeah, don't.
Don't copy Megaforce.
Oh my god, they're gonna
Please.
do it, guys. They're gonna do it.
No!
What have we
I should
done?
have kept my mouth shut. I'm sorry.
What have I done?
What have I done?
No!
That's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true.
You cannot handle the truth.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ay, ay, ay.
Behold the viewing globe.
Hold the viewing globe.
There is a simple answer to that.
There is a
Actually,
simple explanation for everything.
I actually met David Fielding once. He was nice.
Oh, nice. Has anybody else
I've
here,
met like 9 of. What's that?
Has anybody else here had those kind of? I assume you met him at a con, or was it just random?
At the Bangor Toy and Comic Con in 2017.
Oh, nice. So I thought,
Like,
yeah,
because I live in Maine, and like we do have a Comic Con in Bangor, and through that I've met like 9 of the original cast members of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
nice.
Cool.
I've always wanted to go to a con.
You should.
That's more than we're ever gonna have around here.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to go to a Ranger con just to meet any one of the actors, really.
Trust me. It
Oh,
is
I'd be happy if
worth
I met any of the Megaforce Rangers, to be honest.
it.
Actually, I did like the blue Megaforce Ranger. I forget his name at the moment. I think his name was Noah or something.
Yep.
He was the best one out of all of them, in my opinion.
It isn't saying much, but it's saying something. Yeah, I definitely think that cons in general. See, that's the thing about cons, though, just in general, because I actually work at Anime Boston, which is I've been working there for the last 5 years because I just happen to be in the Boston area, so it's real convenient. But going to PMC or something of the like is a lot more, financially crippling, because I mean, a flight to California costs hundreds of dollars one way and the other. Then get a hotel there. Then, like, if I wasn't volunteering at the convention, that'd be another $100 I'd have to spend just on getting in. But I will say that the experience.
Yeah, I can see the problem.
The experience for me.
It's expensive.
Yeah, in terms of cons, I've always been more motivated to work and help out at cons than actually just attend them as a normal person. Because the first time I was ever at Anime Boston, I was just a normal person, and I didn't know what to do. It's like, oh, there's a panel. Like, okay. I just don't think that the general structure of cons is made for someone like me, who's kind of more interested in, like, actually doing things as opposed to, like, sitting around hearing other people talk about things, which is why I like helping out a lot more. But going to PMC and meeting a bunch of Ranger actors, that would have been worth the price of admission alone. Even, I mean, I didn't go to much panels while I was there because I kind of overworked myself as a volunteer, but that experience alone, that's one that I will carry with me for the rest of my life.
No, I would love to go to Power Morphicon, but again, I live in Maine, so that would be pretty much like, just completely across the country for me.
Yep.
Oh, that would be across a continent for me, so.
Yeah, there's that, yeah.
Actually, because I would have to go over Central America too. I mean, I don't know. Does Central, South, and North America all count as continents, or we're all one big hug of America?
Counts as North America.
Ooh, you guys like to separate yourselves from the rest of America. Ooh.
But if you can make it out to PMC 2020, you absolutely should try. Assuming it's, financially feasible and all that, because, that stuff obviously comes first. But from my personal take, I think that it's definitely worth the experience for any Ranger fan. Like, you step into those doors, and it feels like Candyland, or whatever the appropriate metaphor would be in that situation. Yeah. You joke about that, but yeah, it really is like Heaven's Gates just opened up. Like, even before any of the actors actually got there, I was just walking through, like, the setup part of it, and, like, they had the actors' names in the back of the booth areas, and even seeing that was exciting.
Because, like, you were thinking, like, here to a few hours, that person is going to be sitting here. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just that close to that spot, and a few hours from now, that person is going to be on that spot. It's almost as if you were seeing the person there. I mean, there's an astral feeling around that. I can totally get that. I can totally relate to that.
But, like, holy hell, I was quite nervous when I was just starting to, like, actually work up the courage to actually talk to any of them. And ironically, the first person I talked to was Allison Kipperman, who is also called Allison Sullivan now, because I think she got married in between being a Ranger and now, who plays Taylor, of course. And if she was more like her character, that would have been a hard first time. But like, Allison is actually, like, bubbly and super, super, super nice. And, like, I, like, straight up explained that, like, this is, like, kind of a nerve-wracking situation, and she's like, no, it's perfectly fine, it's all right. Like, she was so encouraging and positive, and, like, did not expect that at all from her, but she was a great first person to meet.
Really imagine what that interaction would have been like if she were more like Taylor.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the very first Ranger cast member I met was Karen Ashley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because the first time was in 2015, and the guests were Karen Ashley, Walter Emmanuel Jones, David Yost, and Austin St. John. And Karen, I remember when I first walked in there, like it like this was a moment that I had waited 15 years for, right?
Yep.
You know, and
that seems like a little time ago.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching this. Been a fan of Power Rangers my entire life. You know, and like, yeah, they were all very nice, and like I remember when we actually got to take the photo. She handed me the Yellow Ranger's helmet, and she's like, "All right, you hold this, and I'll hold you." And she like put her hand on my shoulder, and we took the picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
And apparently that noise means Lovely's back.
Yay! Welcome back, Lovely.
Hi, sorry.
No
I got called to do something real quick, so now I'm back.
Welcome back.
Nice to have you back.
And then we're talking about Paramorphicon, I'm guessing?
Yeah, basically
something
con
like that?
experiences in general. Have you
Yeah.
any stories to add on that front?
Not really. I once went to a local Comic-Con, but it wasn't really anything special. It's not like an LA Comic-Con. I just played games and then looked at some cool art and stalls that were set up by independent workers, which is cool.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we don't get to have that many Comic Cons here in Brazil. Like we have Comic Con RS here, not here in my state. We have Comic Con Experience that takes place at São Paulo, and eventually some of the actors come. But like I think we've had like 4 or 5 max of the grand total of Ranger actors ever that have already come here to any of our conventions. Like, we don't get to have many. I have never attended to any of the Comic Cons here.
One day I do hope I get to go to a con.
It's a bit sad of a sad prospect to be talking here.
But
actually, yeah. What I was thinking about was the big question about Brain's experience with Power Morphicon.
Yep.
Have you already got the time to remember any of the things that like you chatted with Valerie when you were there? Could you said on the video?
Are you still reeling?
I don't remember the specifics of what I did say.
Well, now that you mention it, let me think about that one.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and guess that as soon as Brain saw Valerie, he just immediately fainted. No.
I mean, that's not totally incorrect. I was feeling the butterflies a bit. Like it actually, like doing that actually took like a lot of willpower because once all the booths were set up and most of the actors were like in position and ready to meet and greet people, like I must have passed by Valerie's booth like maybe 3 or 4 times, and like every time I got to the section I like turned around and walked away because my heart started flaring up and I was like, I'm not ready for this right now. Yeah, it took a bit of time. But fittingly, she was actually I'm pretty sure she was the last Ranger actor I talked to when I was there. So I kind of,
because after her you didn't have the emotional you didn't have the emotional to talk to anyone else after her.
Nothing
he
could
didn't
top
have enough XP.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. I mean, there wasn't much that could really top that. I mean, I did want to talk to other people after that, but it was kind of like a happenstatial situation because I, of course, wanted to meet Erin Cahill, but her line was super super long, as it should be. And when I was in line to talk with Jason Font, he got called away to do whatever his next panel was. When I was like, I guess the second or third away from the first person in line, so kind of unfortunate on that end. And I didn't.
Yeah.
I was kind of like heavily volunteering all of Sunday, so I didn't get to do much in terms of experiencing the actual con there, which means that I did not have a chance to meet Claire Blackwelder, which is even more depressing than the other two, honestly. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually do remember one of the things that I said to Valerie. I actually told her that in the context of my YouTube channel, I kind of try to like not mention her too much because I don't want any of my viewers to get like annoyed and be all like, "Oh boy, here's Brain talking about Kendricks again." Because
make the Carter button meme, but for
We
Kendricks.
do that already, I think.
We did it to Carter.
Yeah.
I did that to Carter.
Yeah. You aimed at Kendricks and you ended up hitting Carter.
The Carter button is back.
But Brain, did she tell you if she ever watched any of your other videos other than just that review that you did?
No, I think she's just seen my top 10 Pink Rangers video. And the crazy part is, like, she would have watched it, like, over a year ago, but she still remembered it when I met her. Which is, like, at that point, my head was already kind of fuzzy. At that point, I was like, whoa, is this... what even is happening right now?
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
What in the land's love? Escape from reality. Oh god. Sorry, I got carried away.
Open your eyes.
Look up to the skies and see.
Yes! Sing it!
I need no sympathy. Oh god, we can't carry.
Easy
go,
go.
little heart, little.
What are we doing?
I have no idea.
We become a really bad Queen cover band.
This is what's happening. We're going to become a band now.
It's settled then, guys. Next time, we all bring an instrument and we're gonna do covers of Queen now.
Or it can be an
Do
acapella
covers
group.
of Power Rangers.
We could do
It's
that.
settled.
We can do.
We're
both.
gonna be a Queen cover band that dress up like Power Rangers.
Oh my god. Wait,
Each one of
Which
us is a
color do we get?
ranger.
which color do we get? Which one's red?
I'm red.
I-
That's already my name.
I would think that Brain would be the red of the bunch.
And then we're gonna have a guy that's named Red that is not the Red Ranger.
Oh,
It's gonna be the ultimate of.
that's gonna be the running
It's
joke.
gonna be the ultimate of mishaps. It would be really fun if it would be really fun if Red eventually got like the blue collar. I mean, we could call him Sky then.
Oh.
I guess the
Salt.
sky is blue.
Is blue.
That is honestly one of my proudest puns.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Definitely.
I was referring to SPD Sky, but that was a great one too.
Sky was doomed from the start.
Well, I guess we can probably tell everyone here got about 10 to 20 years older by doing this stream. Everyone now got married, got kids, and by Sunday afternoons, we get to do barbecues and be shouting jokes like this, like these. I mean, we can take that for granted.
Oh man. So we spent a while talking about cons. Should we move to an adjacent topic?
Like what?
Yeah. What else? What else do we have?
Actually, I was gonna give a suggestion. I mean, the stream was supposed to have like 2 hours, right?
Yep.
So, like, now that we are reaching the final minutes, I mean, shouldn't we open a bit for the viewers if they want to send us questions through the YouTube live chat?
That is a great idea. Viewers, please send us questions, and if we like your question, then we will answer it on stream.
And if we don't like your questions,
then
we don't have
you're out of luck.
If we don't like your question, we're gonna ignore it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Just ban them from the chat.
Oh, this is... oh my god! Oh, this is
Not personal.
Ask such a question. Banned.
Oh, this is a good question. So, Marcelino Vasquez asks, which big-time celebrity would you want to see as a Power Ranger?
Whoa, that's a good one.
I'd love to see him as the Black Ranger from Mighty Morphin. I don't know why. That's just what color I see him as.
Maybe it's just because he already kind of played a teenage character, but I'd like to see Tom Holland, I guess, as a ranger.
Whoa, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah. He'd do well.
I mean, he already is a superhero. It would fit.
Yep.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. But he's a superhero that actually makes money. I guess I was just a bit too harsh now, sorry. I mean, there is I mean, I totally didn't hear what Brain just said right now.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything in particular. You were cutting out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys were cutting a little bit for me too. Again, my internet connection. Okay. I guess I would like to see Andy Samberg as a Power Ranger. I just don't know which color he would be.
He seems like a Green Ranger.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like it doesn't matter which color he would be at. He would actually make a compelling character of some sort. In fact, I don't. It feels to me like he would be a good Yellow Ranger, because like few seasons
I was
have.
about to say maybe like Yellow Ranger also.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, because like Andy's characters, I mean, at least in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he has that sort of feeling like he wasn't supposed to be here, but he is. Like, you wouldn't expect the underdog, the buffoon ranger, to be on the yellow collar. But in general, people don't expect the Yellow Ranger to be a male. So, I guess it's a 2-win?
I guess so. But
okay, here's another question from the chat. Who's your favorite Power Rangers villain?
Astronomer.
For me, it's Rancid.
Rancid's another great one.
Ooh.
What was the question again?
Favorite Ranger.
Who is your favorite Power
Favorite
Rangers
villain? Personally, I think I am going to go with I think I'm gonna go with Deviat just because of like how he like manipulates his way around like the villain side in Lost Galaxy.
Oh yeah, he is quite devious. I guess that's why they call him Deviant.
What? Gave you that idea, Brain?
I don't know. It kind of adds up.
Devious, Deviat. It kind of rhymes.
I guess. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably coincidence.
But a coincidence that many could take as a joke, just like you did.
But I do think that just in terms of Astronema, I like that her nuance as a villain and the fact that she really did have a choice when it came right down to it was a great stepping up point in terms of the types of stories that Rangers could tell. And it was the perfect kind of thing to just continue on with what In Space was doing and doing well relative to all the samey high school drama kind of seasons that predated it. And
Yep,
that's a lot of what In Space...
With the villains also being like evil for evil's sake.
Yeah, exactly. And in In Space, you had two villains, both Astronema and Ecliptor, that both makes choices, not necessarily based on their evil whims, but based on their connection to each other. And that's something we didn't really see a lot either, even when you had that kind of thing working with the Machine Empire, because they're just kind of a big family. But even those dynamics are mostly just played for laughs and kind of just surface level. But the ways that Ecliptor and Astronema connect certainly are not, and that really helped carry the show on the villain side of things.
I actually feel bad for Ecliptor that he died.
Yeah, that was...
I thought he would also be purified just like the others. Considering at the end he wasn't really that big of a bad guy, considering he turned technically good in a way.
Yeah. It was always...
I mean, why did I always wondered why Ecliptor was like erased by the wave, because like even if he was acting to like, yes, in his mind he is assisting the cause of evil, he wasn't really all that evil, really.
True, but I think the logic behind that is because the way that they reprogrammed him was probably more thorough than what they could have done with Astronema when they kind of turned her into essentially part of the Borg collective. So I can see it working from that angle because Ecliptor is all machines. But I do kind of wish it would have happened in a similar way to Astronema, where he kind of just gets deactivated or gets partly destroyed, but maybe there's this implication that he'll get rebuilt later on. Like, that could have been cool. Kind of like the ending of Big Hero 6 in a way.
Yeah, kind of the way in which they ended the cycles in that same season.
Yeah. So that was something that's kind of weird about Lost Galaxy too, because Corone never actually talks about Ecliptor in Lost Galaxy, and you think that he would, at least came up in a random conversation because the man did Razor,
Yeah.
Also didn't bring up that much about Darkonda either, even though he like appeared in a flashback.
Yep. Old Darkonda.
Old Darkonda.
I think they just weren't brought up since, Corone just kind of had to be suddenly placed into the franchise due to Valerie Vernon having to leave for, the reasons that we know. So they just kind of had to suddenly place her character in.
Yeah.
There's something... Sorry. Didn't really have time to properly write out a proper storyline for her.
Yeah.
In the same time, it eventually worked well story-wise for for her character arc, because like Corona had that dream of becoming a Power Ranger, and eventually she ended up being the villain. But I mean, the fact that Valerie Vernon had to leave ended up playing a good role in both of their characters' stories, because Kendrick's completely embodied the theme of sacrifice that the season revolved around, and Karen got to finally fulfill her dream and get on with her personal issues, like her villainous past and all those things. It's weird, like how those things that were supposed to be like mishaps on the production side end up becoming good things story wise on this franchise,
Yeah,
or at least
that's one of my favorite parts about Power Rangers as a franchise. Power Rangers as a franchise knows how to respond to adversity. They always do, and it's kind of inspiring in a way, because I've always considered like Power Rangers in general is kind of an underdog franchise because it's not quite Marvel, it's not quite DC. It's honestly, some would argue that it's not even quite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's always been an underdog in that sense, but with all of its production troubles behind the scenes, and yet here we are 26 years later, we're still here, we're still fighting, we've still lasted this long despite every hurdle put in front of us. Like, that's just inspirational.
Super Mega Force.
New Saban era.
Yeah, that was a sizable hurdle, but hey, we got past that too, and here we are. Beast Morphers 3 episodes in, it's already looking way better than anything we've had before. So once again, franchise responding to adversity in a positive way.
I just hope it stays that way.
Yes, we hope. Like there's bits and pieces in there like early on that I don't know what they're going to do with it or what their plan is, because like I don't want to spoil too much about episode 3, but like there is like one important character in it where he had an important moment in episode 1. It kind of should have been brought back up by now, but it's like, no, let's focus on bikes instead. Like the first episode didn't quite happen. And I feel like what Beast Morphers is doing is they're waiting to really play their full hand. Right now in the previous 2 episodes, it feels like they're kind of biding their time a bit while they put a few pieces in place. So whenever they actually do reveal their full hand, then I'll finally have an understanding of what this season can really be, because there's a lot that they've set up. So I'm anxiously waiting for what the payoff will be, especially with how they've initially set up pretty much all of the characters at this point.
well, I didn't watch yet, so I can't say pretty much anything other than, as far as I know, as I agree with you.
Nice.
Hey, Brain, are you planning on doing any more of the Beast Morphers reviews for the episodes, or
That
are
is
you
a
just
good
going to wait
question.
until the last episode of the season?
So it really depends. So for most shows, I don't do that anymore. Like I used to do it a lot more consistently when I was primarily reviewing Disney Channel stuff. But with Rangers, there's usually not as much of a demand for episode by episode reviews because there's a lot more people that do that in terms of like the Toku community in general. So it's not like anybody necessarily needs my thoughts on like one random filler episode or whatever the case may be. But
I know that.
but my whole thing is that if something big happens, if something discussion worthy happens, then I'll probably make a video discussing it, which is kind of how my policy arose for like Super Ninja Steel, right? Where I had that initial thoughts videos, and eventually I did a single episode review on the basically the prelude to Dimensions in Danger, which I thought at the time was probably the best Ninja Steel episode, like of both seasons. And then I of course review the Dimensions in Danger special because it's the special. It kind of have to review it, and then after that,
5 years, yeah.
And then after that, I just reviewed the whole kit and caboodle after the season finale premiered. So my hope is that Beast Morphers gives me more chances to review things in that fashion, where something big or discussion worthy happens and I can make a video on it, and then a few weeks down the line something else big happens, and then I can talk about how we got to this point and what this could mean for future episodes until the season ends, and then I review the whole thing.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Good.
Yeah, makes sense.
Nice. I'm glad that I at least make sense.
Yes.
At least makes sense.
At bare
That's all we ask.
Yeah.
At bare
For an
minimum,
over analytical, I mean, okay, over analytical might sound a bit too harsh, but I mean, for a person that analyzes things like you do, that might be an understatement. At least making sense might be an understatement.
Well, I try to stay humble, I do what I can. Well, thank you.
Someone's
Thank you
calling
very
their dog.
much.
So, any other topics anyone wants to bring up?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, more questions from the audience.
I haven't seen that many.
Was one question that RedWelch and I were talking about before this whole thing started.
Yep.
So how do you guys think Hasbro might handle Lupat?
Oh, that's a real good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I mean, I
just tacked on another hour to this podcast.
I didn't even hear the question. What happened?
we're reaching 2 hours already.
I think we're already past 2 hours, but yeah, I didn't even hear what the question was.
We started with 8:11, so I think that we have just got in the 2 hours mark.
Yeah, so the question
Well,
was, how do you
yeah.
think that Hasbro will adapt to Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger? Which, for those of you who haven't seen the season, is basically a 3-Ranger team of cops, kind of like SBD, but on a lower operating budget. And then the Lupin Rangers are basically Phantom Thieves, so it's kind of like heroes, anti-heroes, and then the actual enemy. So kind of like what
Yeah.
Hexagon
Basically
was
just
almost.
cops and robbers.
Yeah. I love it, the premise of like 2 ranger teams. One of them are law enforcers, and the other one are the outlaws. I mean, that is completely bonkers. If we imagine like this could have been done a long time ago, and they have done it now, and it works so well.
Yeah, I honestly think that.
I actually think it
Yep.
could work.
Me too. Honestly, I do. And I think that it's one of those things where, because Lupat was so character-centric, I think that's really all you need to make a season great. And the story, what little there is of it, is fairly straightforward, so you don't even have to worry about overcomplicating things on that end. You really just have to find 6 really good characters and just set them on their way. And if you kind of match the emotional tenor of how those 2 teams actually clash, but also how they actually connect and develop each other in certain ways, then yeah, you could make a really good season out of it.
But
Yeah.
there's also the issue, the following issue. I mean, if Hasbro wants to maximize their profits over it, they could turn it in 2 seasons. They could do 2 seasons with one team of 3 Rangers instead of one single season with 2 teams of 3. And that is a way in which they could potentially ruin the whole storyline.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if that would work. Like,
Yeah, you couldn't really split that season into two
Yeah, pretty much
at
pretty
all.
much all the fight scenes are at some point the two of the teams fighting together and or against each other and or a combination of both.
Yeah, not unless Hasbro wants to make it a full Americanized version of it and split them up, have their own separate stories going off at the same time, and every now and then have a crossover episode.
Yeah, that
But
would take a
that
lot of
seems a little
changes.
too. Yeah, that seems a little bit too big for any type of Power Rangers series.
Plus, they'll definitely adapt Q Ranger first because that's in space. That's one check mark. That always works. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of Rangers there, so there's a lot of toys they can sell. That always works. And yeah, the rest kind of takes
I
care
really
of
I really
itself.
hope they adapt Q Ranger. I really do.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Well, I
Most
am
likely.
not going to. I'm not gonna say so safely that they're going to. They're gonna to rock with it like because it is in space because as we said before, dinosaurs were something that this franchise used to do really well as well, and then came Dino Charge and lowered that standard, that pattern a bit. So I mean, I just hope that Hasbro does not do it bummer.
But that's the thing about Q
I
Ranger,
would actually
though,
wonder how.
because I feel like with
What?
Q Ranger, you've got the chance to make the Ranger cast a little bit older and a little bit more mature. And I feel like that's what we've been missing the most in terms of the Neo Saban. And even though I think the characters are pretty good in Beast Morphers so far, we'll see where they end up when the season is over, of course. But I feel like staying kind of stagnant in that sort of high school drama mentality, even though there was like barely any of that in Ninja Steel anyway. So I mean, you'd be forgiven to like forget that they were even in a high school most of the time. But that's the same kind of staleness, sameness that almost caused the cancellation in the first place back when Turbo was still happening. So for me, this strikes me as the
Yeah,
perfect time to look beyond that and do what Lost Galaxy did and bring in characters with a bit more experience in them, with a bit more life experience, where instead of necessarily developing everyone in kind of like a growing up sort of narrative, you can like put them where they are and peel back the layers instead, while also challenging them in more mature ways, like you had of Kai Chen. Like he's a pretty fully formed person coming into Lost Galaxy, but even he needed to learn a few things along the way.
No, I feel like at least at the least they could do is like have different characters at different points in their lives.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know, like maybe like some younger ones and then some older ones. You know.
Yeah, I thought that aspect
Yeah,
of
Yeah.
Wild Force was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing with the Neo Saban era that really dragged it down was they tried to be too much like the original Power Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept on trying to make each season so much like MMPR that honestly it just held it back in my opinion for a lot of them.
You really did. And that was like extra true of Megaforce because the entire narrative was wrapped around this legendary battle of, one dream that Troy had one fine night. And it's like that's fine, but if the only course of action after setting all of that up is to exclusively ape the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers aesthetic and setup and character traits, it doesn't make any sense to construct a narrative built around measuring up to all the legends because you're not taking anything from any of the other seasons and making them matter. You're exclusively making it so this high school setup to this obvious Mighty Morphin next generation sort of story is all that you're doing. And like, fine, but like Dino Thunder already did that greatly, so you could at least do like other things and make it so that all the steps getting here represented. Otherwise, it's not as much of an anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neo Saban era season seemed very much like Saban was just trying to get the success that they had back in the 90s back.
Yep.
It's yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Well,
problematic
my
right off the bat, because like it they were trying to get back to a time that they can't get back to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
Yeah. And like they were really
Well, it
shoving it
might
in
have
your
what.
face too with like the theme song literally being the MMPR song. And it's like Power Rangers has changed immensely for the better since MMPR. It's kind of insulting to just ignore that part of its history and only focus on that season, even if it is good and very important.
Yep.
Yeah. It, don't get me wrong. I think with Samurai having a little callback to MMPR here and there was nice and all, but they literally just tried to make it fully MMPR just with Samurais. Then Megaforce tried to literally just copy most of MMPR.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the Ghost Sager suits look kind of similar, at least in the helmet, like the Zoo Ranger suits.
Yeah.
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 And don't get me wrong, I love MMPR, but too much nostalgia, fanboyish type of shit like that, it just throws you off after a while.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially at the
It makes
cost
you
of
start
character
hating
development.
the original.
Yeah. Megaforce just felt like really poorly done fan service.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they got worse at it like as time progressed. It's like, oh, you found the red lion, but where's the wild force rangers? Oh, they're nowhere. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Where's the animarium? Like,
Like, they couldn't even bring Princess Shayla back
They
to
go in.
like explain to them like why the wild Zords are important.
Yes, give a simple explanation.
I mean,
Yeah, Megan Force did a lot of stuff that if anyone else was writing it, would have put in all of these nods or other characters from the past seasons to help explain a lot of stuff. Like have Cam show up and give him the ninja Zord thing that they have.
Yeah,
Something.
Yeah.
these are well.
I mean,
Have or
like Brain
have
said,
have Zanaku.
like
Go
Brain
ahead.
said, I mean, there's a difference between, referencing the past and blatantly ripping it off,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, Megaforce and Super Megaforce just decided to rip it off.
Yeah. It had a lot of potential to it. I could have probably have fixed some of the plot holes throughout the Power Rangers. Actually reminds me of one. Does anyone know whatever happened to Arum the Conqueror from the original MMPR or Zio?
wow. I have not
Or in
thought
the
about their
Conqueror.
Hmm.
character in a
Wow.
long time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little tiki head that you put a key into and it turned into a giant Megazord that grant or that battled evil. Yeah, it wasn't Zio.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Well,
I don't quite remember his
I
origins
remember
though.
he was only in about 6 episodes, and then he disappeared.
so it looks like I'm on the Power Rangers wiki, and and this is a direct quote. Uh, Tanya chose Jason, the Gold Zeo Ranger at the time, to be the keeper of Auric. Presumably, he either passed this duty on to Trey of Triforia when he returned his gold powers, or he still carries the key.
Oh,
Hmm.
interesting.
But that still does not explain what happened to him. that's just speculation.
He's just riding
it even
around
says
in Jason's pocket.
It's in his
Should have asked
house
also
somewhere
St. John. Yeah.
on a mountain.
Last time I saw him.
Oh, you should have.
Hey, Austin. Whatever happened to Oric the Conqueror?
Then he's like, who?
he just pulls out the key.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, him and Ninja are always two that always confuse the hell out of me, wondering where they went after their season or what happened to them in general.
Well, Ninja is just an alien, right? So I assume he went back to wherever he once came from.
He might have went back to Aquatar, considering that's where his Sentai counterpart was with that team. Actually, funny thing is, he never actually teamed up with the Aquatar Rangers, despite his Sentai counterpart being a part of that team.
Oh, interesting.
I'm sure there's a simple explanation for that.
There is always a simple explanation for that.
How many times have we referenced Gosai in here?
I've
I'm actually
lost
surprised
track.
we haven't. I'm actually surprised we haven't done the Jaden meme yet.
we said it
because
once at the
I said
beginning.
praise white Takaru.
He did say that.
Oh, Samurai Jesus.
Are there any other memes we have missed?
Good question. Shut up, Dax, I guess.
Okay,
That's one we haven't hit yet. Yeah.
Okay, so
It's just giving me a headache.
I think we can all agree Overdrive was a disappointment of a season.
Oh, very much so, yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Overdrive since I was young, so maybe just be me, but I don't remember it being that bad when I was a kid.
Overdrive.
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
egregious. It was just,
Overdrive is one of those seasons where
Although,
so few of it is good, but it's also not as bad as a lot of the fandom claims. At least in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was nothing particularly egregious. It just wasn't, that memorable.
Yeah.
It was a good idea. It was a so-so idea that was so executed.
yeah.
See, I'm kind of on
that's-
the different side of that. I feel like the ideas were actually really good in some cases, but the execution was awful.
Yeah.
The Rangers playing a treasure hunt was a kind of good idea. I mean, it was a good idea. It could carry the plot well enough, but they just didn't have good enough characters to do so.
So can we just acknowledge the fact that for whatever reason, the Sentinel Knight chose to hide the jewels of the Corona Aurora all on one planet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Like, he could have thrown it all across the galaxy into different dimensions or something. He just decides to choose one planet that's mostly water.
Not
Just
only
stick
the
them all on
jewels,
Earth. Why not?
He hid the jewels and the Corona itself all on the same planet, and he calls it hiding.
Yeah, he didn't even put the jewels in the water, so it's hard to get to. He was just like, threw it there.
None of that.
That was literally all he did.
They were all on Pangea, near each other, so close. But it's only because of time that they all moved to different places. Actually, how does that even work? All those magic clues leading up to them, yet they were all landed on Earth during Pangea or whatever.
Yeah, I have.
How are there so many hints to them after all that time?
I have no idea.
made no sense.
I also have no idea why the Fear Cats know about the jewels, despite the fact that they're completely Earth-based, apparently.
Yep.
And there's also stuff like the Lucky Pearl that ended up being one of the jewels instead of I think it was the Sea's Eye, the name of the stone. I mean, that was a completely something that there was no clue. I mean, there was all the clues, the whole bird that led to that scroll, the scrolls that led to Neptune's sword, and then Neptune's sword should lead them to the jewel, and then it led them to a dead end, and then they they so happened to be resided by the pirate that had the actual jewel. I mean, there was all that treasure. Yeah, there was all that hunting, that treasure hunting, and they were following all the leads that should not have been put there in the first place, and the leads that should not have been there in the first place still led them to a dead end, and still they got the jewel
because plot.
Yep.
Because plot.
Oh, they had to further the plot, you know, somehow.
Oh yeah, I actually think I posted this in one of the chats earlier. But have any of you seen Pokemon Chronicles by any chance?
I have, yes.
The little mini series where it featured scenes from the video games and anime style that were never shown in the show and stuff.
Yep, I actually
but
really
just
like
give
Pokemon
the bigger
Chronicles.
scenes and stuff.
To be honest with you, I'm not a big Pokemon guy. You know.
Well, this doesn't really have to do with Pokemon, but what would you think of a Power Rangers doing something similar, like a little mini series that just answers a bunch of these plot hole questions,
Oh, I'd be
or
totally
just
down.
focus on random episodes of past Rangers, like an episode on Zordon's past, how he got to Earth, or how he met Alpha 5.
Well, Boom
or
Comics is
an
diving a little
episode
bit into
of
Zordon's past currently with the current issues.
another episode could be Donkey Kruger's past,
That'd be
because
great, yeah.
he apparently had his own team originally before he came to Earth. Stuff like that. Episodes based on that.
That could
Just
be
like one-off episodes.
I think that like almost like a time travel kind of deal, sort of, kind of like they did with Hyperforce.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I think Power Rangers would do good as an anime, to be honest.
It really would, assuming the right studio got their hands on it. Because if it was like A1 Pictures or something like that, it's like, yeah, no thank you. But if it was like Bones or Madhouse, then yeah, I could see that working. Or whatever those current subsidiaries of Studio Sunrise are. I think Gainax is one of them.
Yeah,
So, like,
and hell, it'd be a lot easier to make or translate to English, to be honest.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of funny, Race. I think it would be great if eventually they met Doggy Kruger, but then Devin like freezes up because that's his weakness.
Well, I thought when I first saw that, I thought that was silly, you know, but like, but then, you know, at least Ravi's was like actually serious. Like if he gets overheated, then he just goes berserk.
Yep.
And also, as I understand it, the Yellow Buster's weakness was she was fueled by candy.
Yeah, basically.
Well, at least Zoe's weakness makes a little bit more sense.
Kids, eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables, kids. You know. But yeah, like Devin's Devin's weakness, I thought was just like, I just thought that was a little silly, but
it kind of comes out of
what are you gonna do?
nowhere tonally. I feel like that's the kind of thing where you kind of commit to the bit a bit harder and make it more humor-centric, but they were kind of playing it really self-serious. It's like, oh no, he froze up. Why? We must get to the bottom of this.
I mean, to be fair, they were fighting a monster, and probably had to find a way to get him unfroze so he could fight the monster.
True.
Yeah, no, that would be funny. Like they meet Dr. Kruger, and all of a sudden, just freeze.
But would he freeze while he's in a ranger mode? Like in the Shadow Ranger mode?
Probably not, since he looks just like a normal ranger. It's not like the ranger suit's dog-shaped.
It really is.
Maybe the ears would be a giveaway.
Oh no.
Oh wait, what happens to Devin if he sees Rick?
These
He's
are
a robotic
the
dog.
These are the questions.
This is what we're focusing on.
Or whatever that other robot dog was in SPD.
Was there another one? I only remember Rick.
There was another one, I think, when the Rangers were trying to earn SWAT mode.
Oh.
At least from what I remember.
Nice.
So, anyone have any other topics to bring up?
Not really.
Well, sounds like we're coming close to the end of the podcast then.
Yep. We were able to squeeze an extra 23 minutes out of it just because we're all such awesome people.
Yep. We're great.
Okay.
Awesome. So thank you to all of our wonderful viewers for tuning in to episode 2 of the Braincast. And thank you, of course, to our wonderful podcast participants for being awesome and talking about Rangers, which we all universally love, and making these last
some of them,
yes, important distinction there, and making these last 2.5 hours absolutely fly by.
Thanks for having me.
I guess we can all agree that we can one-up Brain again in his outro. Can't we?
Oh my, go for it.
Let's try.
Say that again.
Until then, thanks for watching.
And as always, thanks for watching.
I feel personally attacked. No, this is great.
As always, thanks for watching. We'll keep saying it until you leave.
Thanks for watching. He mutes the hang of thanks.